So today we're gonna make a very simple but elegant mushroom risotto with a chicken sausage and then a very light mustard sauce on top. Now this can be considered a fancy dinner, but it actually comes together quite fast in about 30 minutes. So it's perfect for a busy weeknight or if you wanna impress your significant other. So I've been trying this recipe out for a few weeks. I think I finally perfected it. So without further ado, let's jump into cooking. Now I know this dish might seem intimidating, but we're gonna break it down into three main components: the risotto, sauce, and protein. We're gonna start by making the risotto by using a large wok so it's a little easier for you guys to see. We're gonna place the wok on medium heat, and then we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Once the oil is hot, we're gonna add some shiitake mushrooms. Now you can use whatever mushroom you want, but I like the flavor of shiitake mushrooms because they have a nice umami. We're gonna remove the stems, slice them up, add them to the wok with a big pinch of salt. The salt will help to remove the moisture from the mushrooms. Continue to saute the mushrooms until all the water is removed. They'll basically shrink in size and they'll turn a nice golden brown color, and that's how you know that they're done. Then remove the mushrooms from the wok and set aside. Now let's talk about the protein for this dish. I chose to use a nice chicken sausage. You could basically find this in most grocery stores. Chances are if the grocery store makes its own pork sausage, they usually have a chicken sausage option. We're going to cut this sausage into 6-inch pieces, place them on a baking sheet. Then in the same wok we used to saute our mushrooms, we're going to add a little bit of oil, and then we're going to sear the sausage for around 2 to 3 minutes per side. We're just looking to get some color on the sausage. Then we're going to place them back on the baking sheet, and we're going to bake in the oven set to 350 degrees for around 10 minutes or until the sausage reaches 165 degrees internally. Now let's move on to making the risotto, and this all happens in the same wok, so no need to dirty up any more pans. Place the wok on medium heat, and then we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of butter and about a tablespoon of olive oil. Once the butter is melted, we're going to go in with 1 shallot that we finely diced. Obviously not as big as these steroid shallots, so use about 1/4 cup of diced shallot. Saute the shallots until they're nice and translucent. Then we're going to go in with about 1/4 teaspoon of red chili flake and 1.5 tablespoons of some garlic that we minced up nice and fine. Saute the garlic for about 30 seconds or until it's nice and fragrant. Then we're going to season with a little salt and pepper before adding the rice. Now the type of rice that you want to buy when you go to the grocery store is an Italian variety called arborio rice. It's a short grain rice that gets nice and creamy and al dente once you cook it. You want to start by toasting the rice for around 2 to 3 minutes or until it turns nice and opaque in color. At this point you want to go in with 1/2 cup of a nice dry white wine such as a Chardonnay. Let the wine completely reduce and absorb into the rice before adding any more liquid to the wok. Now this next step is important. You want to take a pot and you want to add either vegetable stock or chicken stock and bring it to a gentle simmer. Do not use cold stock when making your risotto. Now in stages, we're going to use a little stock at a time so it's just covering your rice. Then you want to reduce the heat till it's a gentle simmer, and then you're going to stir the rice every so often to make sure it cooks evenly. Now we're going to optionally add a sprig of fresh thyme, and then once all the stock is evaporated, you're going to add more stock and repeat the process for around 20 minutes or until the rice is nice and creamy and al dente. Now the trick is to be patient. It takes some time. Don't rush it by turning up the heat. You're going to add stock a little at a time, stir it every minute or so, and then you'll notice that the risotto gets super creamy after about 20 minutes. So at this point you can add your mushrooms and stir them back in. Then you're going to taste a few pieces of rice and make sure they're cooked perfectly al dente. At this point you're going to turn off the heat and you're going to gently melt about 4 tablespoons of butter into the risotto along with 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese that we freshly grated earlier. Now I like to optionally add a little bit of parsley for some color, and then we're going to mix in the Parmesan cheese until the risotto is nice and creamy. Then you're going to taste it and adjust the salt to your liking. And that's our creamy mushroom risotto that'll be the perfect base for our dish. Now let's move on to making the sauce. In a medium-sized pan on medium heat, add about 1 to 2 tablespoons of olive oil and 1/4 cup of diced shallot. Saute the shallots for around 5 minutes with a big pinch of salt and pepper until they turn nice and translucent. Then we're going to go in with some red pepper flake and some minced garlic. Saute the garlic and pepper flakes for around 30 seconds or until nice and fragrant. Then we're going to add some fresh thyme. And as you can see, there's a flavor profile similarity between the risotto and the sauce. By adding the fresh thyme to the sauce, we can concentrate the thyme flavor in the final dish. So whatever herb you choose to use in your risotto, use the same herb in the sauce. Now we're going to add about 3/4 cup of some cherry tomatoes that we sliced in half. And remember, you always season your tomatoes with a little salt. Let the tomatoes saute for around 5 minutes or until they start to soften and release their moisture. Then we're going to go in with 1/4 cup of the same Chardonnay that we used in the risotto. Bring to a simmer and let the wine reduce by half. Then we're going to add a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce and a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Mix the mustard completely into the sauce, and once it's fully incorporated, we're going to go in with 1 cup of heavy cream. turn the heat to low and let the cream gently simmer for a few minutes until it reduces by half. Then we're gonna turn off the heat, add some parsley that we finely minced up earlier, and we'll finish with some cold butter that'll help emulsify the sauce. Once the butter is melted, give the sauce a taste and adjust the seasoning to your liking, and you'll know you reduced the sauce enough when it coats the back of a spoon. So now let's go back to the sausage for a minute. Our sausage is cooked and we've been keeping it warm. Now you can certainly serve the sausage as whole links, but what I recommend doing is cutting the sausage on a bias. This will help for a better presentation overall. Now we're gonna get ready to serve this up with some mushroom risotto on the bottom of the plate, followed by a few slices of sausage, a generous amount of our sauce, and then we're gonna optionally garnish with a few colorful microgreens. I really hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. If you end up trying it, please leave me a comment, and we've reached that time. Let's taste it. All right, let's give it a try. Let's see how we did here. I mean, is it French? Is it Italian? I don't really know. I'll tell you this, if I didn't tell you it was chicken sausage, you wouldn't know it wasn't pork. The risotto is super creamy. It's got a lot of umami from the Parmesan cheese and the mushrooms, a lot of balance from that sauce. It is a little rich, but not too rich. The sauce, subtle mustard flavor. You might miss it if I didn't tell you it was in there. The tomatoes add some nice acidity to the sauce. I made this once before and I didn't add the tomatoes. And I felt like something was missing. I didn't want to add lemon juice, so I added the cherry tomatoes, or the grape tomatoes if you call them that, and it actually brought the sauce together. It was the missing ingredient I needed. Now, this is something you probably would make on a fancy or date night for your significant other. You just met somebody and you want to invite them over to your house and you want to impress them. This is the dish you probably would make. Now, even if you wanted to make this on a busy weeknight, it actually comes together quite fast. 30 minutes, it's done. Sear the sausages up, make a quick sauce, make the risotto. Risotto takes 20 minutes. You could do it all while the risotto is cooking. It's very easy to do. It's definitely worth giving a try. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you want to see me cook next. If you enjoyed this video or you learned something, give me a like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.